some more questions that were submitted by people who are watching this in other parts of the planet. Tonight we're going to have questions from you, if there's any left. Well, here's an easy one. What mind frame can one use to overcome lifelong conditioning? If you start thinking about it, it's a very complex question. But if you don't think and become present, then that's the answer. Become as present as you can, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Make it, one could almost say, yes, one could say, not almost, make it the priority in your life. Make your state of consciousness the priority in any situation, because that is the foundation for whatever you do, whatever action you take, or whatever you do in any given situation is your state of consciousness. So your state of consciousness is always ultimately more important than what's happening or not happening around you. In other words, how you respond to something is more important than what's happened, than the event that you're responding to. So in other words, what's happening is less important than your state of consciousness. But of course, that's very easy to forget when you're being challenged by a difficult person or a difficult situation. But if you remember that, then that's a little signpost. The remembering that in itself, like saying, okay, the most important thing here is my state of consciousness, that's a very important signpost. That itself is just remembering something. But there, this signpost can immediately bring about a shift within you from being reactive in a situation to looking within. It's not, you have to catch yourself, it's not always easy. If somebody insults you or is rude or whatever it may be, or you're driving and he calls you something, how to, in that moment, to remember that your state of consciousness is more important than anything else may not be easy. So ultimately we can say your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by how you respond to what happens. That is the truth. In other words, you're not at the mercy of events, and your response, if something so-called bad happens to you, it becomes even more important. Something, your house burns down, somebody close to you dies, you become seriously ill, death is approaching, you lose all your possessions, you become homeless, things that would usually be considered bad, and from a normal perspective are bad. But then, here too, it's not that does not determine your life and what unfolds from here. Your response determines what happens after this. The so-called future is an extension of just this moment. So anything so-called bad potentially can create in you more consciousness, more presence. You have to be there in that moment. Or if you suffer, at some point you wake up out of it. Oh. Per aspera ad astra, through adversity to the stars, which means stars are really, the way I interpret it is higher consciousness to the stars. So this is the alchemical process, the transformation of the base metal of suffering into gold.